What's going on, Toy Fam? Project Piper Customs here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today I'm going to be taking you through one of my toy photography setups. We're going to go through everything from how I approach a shot, where the idea stems from, posing, and eventually, right at the very end, the final reveal of the finished shot. Let's go! Welcome back, Toy Fam, and as you can see, you're looking through the viewfinder of my camera. What you're seeing there is a partial setup of my latest toy shot, and the idea behind this shot is from a challenge that came from Toy Comics Inc. on Facebook, and their challenge of the week was hide the stands, and by that they mean hide the flight stands. The flight stands is what helps elevate a action figure or a diorama piece or an accessory or prop off the ground to make it look like it's in the air. We have to hide the stands tangibly, which means no Photoshop or editing out. So as you can see here, I have a simple setup at the moment of Kingpin launching a desk at Spider-Man, and he's somersaulting out the way. And so obviously there's still, as you can see, we've still got a stand visible there, and there's one propping up Kingpin here. And I've got a couple on the desk, but obviously they're out of shot. So let me take the camera up and let's get you closer to the action. Okay, so you can see here I have a couple that are keeping the desk upright, and I have, if I can get a good view, okay, there's one keeping Spider-Man there, and of course we've got one for Kingpin. All right. Okay, now that we've got you back down, our aim of the game is to cover that stand and the one that's holding up Kingpin, and then build on the rest of the set to make it look like a nice setting. As you can see at the moment, I've still got my backdrop in view, so we're going to build upon all of this. Okay, so one thing that happens when you approach a toy shop is you have an idea, and then when you start setting up, it just builds and builds, because you have other ideas like just coming in as you're building. You think, oh, I've got that will really work well here, and they'll just start floating in, and all of a sudden your picture is 10 times bigger than what you actually imagined. So yeah, no doubt it will happen with this, but I'm not going to go too crazy, as I want the main focus to be on Spider-Man dodging the desk. So I'm going to add some accessories of props flying off the desk, try and get some depth going, and then just build across here. So it looks like he's got either a wall extension up here, or it's going to be the roof ceiling coming along. But yeah, so I'm going to try and use some of the props to hide the stand here and here. We'll see how we get on. So as I've got you here watching this time lapse of me setting up the shot, I just wanted to go over the idea behind it. Now, the idea came from a scene in the trailer for the Spider-Man 4 PlayStation game, and in that particular scene he's somersaulting out the way of a bunch of bad guys shooting at him. Now, I've always wanted to try and convey this this kind of aerial gymnastics movement onto a toy shot. Try and get it the best I can, try and get that movement, the feel of movement in the shot. So with that in mind, I had the idea that I was going to have Kingpin, as you can see now, he's lobbing the desk at Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's performing one of these aerial maneuvers and jumping out the way of it, and that being the key focus of the shot. So as you can see with the beginnings of the setup, that was the main point I needed to nail down first, was how these three main points of the action were going to be in the camera, and then we'll build the rest of the shot around it. So with that, I have obviously the desk and working out how it's going to be launching at the camera. I wanted it coming at the camera, because essentially what you want to get your idea out of your head onto your workspace and try and translate it as best you can. And obviously with Kingpin in the background, he's in a position where he's throwing it. He won't be in focus, but in focus enough to be able to see what he's doing. And then of course it comes down to the main focus, which is Spider-Man's aerial maneuver, and then that will lead on to posing. And posing the figure, there's two key areas that are really important when it comes to dynamic posing, and that is knowing the limits of your figure and obviously a little bit of human anatomy. Now, when I want to try and do an extreme pose, and I find it best to have a visual reference in front of me, so I googled image some of these acrobatical maneuvers, and I worked off of that. knowing the limits of this figure in particular. And then from there I just set up the shot, and once I was happy with it, I worked with the angle. It's always good to have a play with the camera angle. Wasn't really working for me as a just straightforward horizontal shot, so I have it slightly tilted. It gives a bit of dynamic feel to it. And as you can see now, I'm just building on the rest of it with props. Now I have a lot of stands going on in the in the scene. I picked these up from ACBA. Thank you, Kendall Gray. Big shout out to you. That's articulated comic book art. And there's a variety of other little stands that I've made just using bendy wire to have all these props coming into the shot as if they're flying off the desk. And also these props will help hide the stands that are holding up Spider-Man and Kingpin, because he's a heavy bugger. Otherwise he'll just fall straight over. And that piece at the back, that big grey slab there, that's actually a piece of a dio that I got from a good friend of mine named Tom Green. He's known as Toy Art 2 on Instagram, and Tom's Dioramas on Facebook. I'll put a link in the description for him. He's a wicked diorama maker. So it's just one piece of that to give some sort of, like, you know, big tall office backdrop. So with all these props in place, the scene is slowly coming together. This build entirely, this whole set up, took about a good 4 hours in total once I managed to figure out everything. So, and there we are, we've got just a piece of cloth down at the bottom there to simulate some sort of mat. And yeah, that's pretty much how it all came together. And voila, all set up and ready to shoot. As you can see, we've got the table lamp on an adjustable action figure flight stand. As we swing around to the other side, we've got the books and the paper on some wire stands there. Now the coffee cup is what's hiding the stand holding up Spider-Man, nicely in place. And the little blue book down there, that's what's hiding the stand propping up Kingpin. Okay, now let's go over to our lights. As you can see, there's a nice warm light there. We've got a white light coming down. And then to the left here, we've got a warm yellow light providing the daylight wash. And then we've got another white light to the side. Now, let's shoot. And there it is. Extremely happy with how this one turned out, and that's not always the case. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. But on this occasion, I'm 100% happy. And that'll wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you could hit that hat trick of like, subscribe and notification bell to stay up to date with my latest content, that would be awesome. I am on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Project Piper Customs. And if you're on Facebook, definitely be sure to check out Toy Comics Inc. They're an action figure community, fast growing, filled with loads of toy art, weekly competitions and community fun. And that'll wrap it up for now, guys. Thanks very much again, and until next time.